Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chestnut Channel. Thanks for joining us. With us today is Scott McKenzie of the Scots Charitable Society. He's the president. He's just been the newly elected president, in fact. Congratulations, Scott. Thanks for joining us today on the Chestnut Channel.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what Scots Charitable is and what you do?
Great. Thank you. First of all, the Scotch Charitable Society is the oldest charitable institution in the entire Western Hemisphere. We've been around since 1657. Now, if you think about that, that's only 37 years after the Pilgrims landed.
Ah,
We came into being long before this nation became a notion in anyone's head. And we run parallel to its history. The society was founded by a group of former indentured Scots that came over on a ship called the Unity. They were actually captured at the battles of Dunbar and Worcester, and they were forced to stay at the Durham Cathedral in England, and they realized they were running out of room. So some London investors said, "Hey, we've got some wood mills in Maine and New Hampshire, and we got this ironworks outside of Boston. Let's just ship them over there."
right. I've heard this story. Yes.
Exactly. So what they did is the ones that had served their 7 years had, when they came out of servitude, they got together at a place that was called the Green Dragon Tavern, which no longer exists, and they pooled their money together and said, "Let's buy out fellow Scots." They did that on a cold January night of 1657, and the society was born. And we've been focusing on basically culture, scholarships, and relief for fellow Scots.
Okay.
We we are heavily involved in Boston's history, but one of the things I'll point out to you that if anyone should ever go to the Pilgrim Monument on Provincetown, if you go halfway up, there's a big granite block that says Scotch Charitable Society on it. If you happen to visit the Auburn Cemetery in Mount Auburn Cemetery in Cambridge, you'll see a beautiful wrought iron gate with this wonderful uh, iron artwork of St. Andrews holding a white cross, and around it, it says the Scotch Charitable Society. And that was
Wonderful.
originally created for those who were basically indigent and couldn't afford to be buried. So the society has that. Well, now it's a landmark at the Mount Auburn Cemetery.
Sure.
You I said we do scholarship. We've given out over $2 million in scholarship funds over the years. We've given out another 500,000 in relief funds for people who are on just in dire straits. But
Yeah.
we're all about culture. You will see us at various Scottish games and events. We usually have a tent set up. I tend to be proactive and I like to go out to each tent and visit people, usually bring some brochures. I like to talk to people because people may not always come to your tent. So I make it a point to go to them. And it's really refreshing, or after a while, people know me from last year or the year before. And they, "Hey, hi Scott, how are you?" And so forth. And we get talking. But I
Right.
always preach the gospel of us giving out scholarships. And I like to say to people, "Hey, do you have children? Do you have grandchildren? You got nieces and nephews that are heading to college? Have them come to our website. We would love to be able to help them." Uh, but our cultural thing is really big. We like to get the events. We're doing our annual Tartan Ball April
Yes.
6th at the Indian Ridge Country Club in Andover. It is spectacular. We brought in the Piper from the Dropkick Murphys. We brought in Apple Recordings Celtic Beats as the band for the Kaylee afterwards. We
Oh,
have a harpist.
excellent, Scott. They're great. Yeah. Nice.
We've got fiddle players, we have Highland dancers. It's going to be an exceptionally good night, and we know it's going to be growing from there. And I encourage people, buy your tickets now because as we get closer to the date, they're going to disappear. And this is something we're going to be doing a lot more of. Um, as president, Ray, my job is to take the society forward, like my previous presidents. And the direction I'm going in for the society is really one of collaboration. Right now, I see so many different little Scottish organizations all working autonomously. And my thinking is if we can pool our energies together, we would have more people coming to events. We would have more people participating because there's strength in numbers.
Okay.
Everybody knows somebody. So I'm all about doing collaboration. And I've made a step towards working with a couple of organizations and the relationships is working out really well. And I want to do more of this. If anyone out there knows of a Scottish organization, send them my way. I'd like to talk to them and see how we can collaborate and build a much stronger and deeper Scottish community.
Yes, excellent point. Because some of these institutions are going by the wayside a little bit. They can use some support from each other, shoulder to shoulder type of thing, which is what the Scots have always done. Maybe not clan to clan, but within clans. But nowadays we're over most of that, but we still have the mindset of we're all in this together. As you said, you were in this together back at the Green Dragon Tavern, correct?
Correct.
And this is still true today.
Yep. The society lives on, carrying forth what our founders have wanted the society to be. And I believe that we've become greater than what they ever had imagined. It's amazing how we give out scholarships somewhere between $1,000 to $2,500, $3,000 to some students. We even have a $5,000 and a $10,000 grant that we give out each year. Those are special grants.
Mm-hmm.
And we serve any college-bound student or student in college anywhere in New England. And the other thing I'm doing, change gears a little bit about expanding, is I've come up with the idea that a lot of people just can't get to us for our meetings. Now, we only have 4 meetings a year. So we've gotten technologically smart. We make it so that people that are elderly and they can't get to the event, you can join us via Zoom or webcast.
Ah,
And that's
wonderful.
and that got me thinking. I'm like, well, if the older folks can't get to this, we can bring it to them. And then I'm thinking, why not do this? And that is, I'm in the process of creating a Scots Charitable Society Maine chapter. I'm working with some people in Maine right now, and that's going to be the test bed. And eventually, I'd like to bring it to all the states.
One of my questions right here. Are there chapters?
Not yet, but we are working on it.
Okay, good.
And that's where I'm at right now, collaboration and growth and reaching out to people. The thing I want to share with everyone who's watching this is that the society is made up of a wonderful group of people who truly care about the Scottish community. We have wonderful collaboration within our organization, and we're very welcoming of people. When people join us, the first thing I like to do is send them an email personally welcoming them to the society, give them a little bit about what the society has done, and ask them, consider if here are the different committees that we have. Would you be interested in being a part of them? We want people who are willing to roll up their sleeves and eager to participate, because that's what made the society succeed over the years. We have right now I think it's 110 people. And the thing that I really like the most is that the ratio of men to women, the women are growing, which is
Ah,
great because up until about 15 years ago, we didn't have women come into the society. Not that we didn't allow them, it was just the way things were. They just didn't come into the society. And as more younger people like me came in, I've been a member of society, by the way, for 42 years.
have you
I,
really?
jo- I joined when I was 6 years old. No, I was just 2 years out of college, and I found society at the Loon Mountain Games. And I said, "What's this Scotch Charitable Society?" And I started talking to them, and they were very welcoming of me, and they told their story about the indentured servants and the Saugus Ironworks. And I'm a history buff. I'm like, oh my God, I've never heard about this. And they simply said, "Would you like to join us?" I'm like, "Absolutely, give me an application." I joined. And that following January, I joined and been with them ever since. And to see a lot was going on, I've seen a lot of the growth. I've taken a lot of mental notes. And now that I'm president, I'm taking the things that I saw and say, how can we do this better? So we've modernized the society. We've built out a really nice website, which, by the way, I encourage everyone to go to the Scotch Charitable website, and there's a section there called Scot Links. And if you click on it, there's a pull down. You have three places to go. You can look for Scottish organizations, Scottish clan societies, and Scottish pipers, where you'll find pipe bands, you'll find Gibson bagpipes, you'll find pretty soon you're going to have be able to reach out to an individual piper to have them for your wedding or your event.
Is that right?
Yep. And it's growing fast. We got 112 organizations involved when 2 years ago we only had six.
So a directory of sorts of all this.
It's all things Scottish. We're trying to make it so, because I've talked to people and they said, I'm looking to find a piper. I'm looking for whatever.
Yeah.
And if someone's looking for a clan society, well, why not show them what else is available? Scottish vendors, food purveyors, and other merchants and Scottish arts and crafts. They're all in there. And it's kind of like a Scottish shopping mall
Yeah.
on the internet. And we're actually finding new members that way. Because one of the things that I do, you probably recall from the email I sent to you, is that here's ScotLinks, give us your logo, we'll put it on our website, and it'll be a
Mhm.
hot link back to your site.
Sure.
All we ask is, here's our logo, put it on your site so it links back to us. So we have some reciprocity here. Well, people are finding our logo on different clan sites and different Scottish merchant organizations. They're like, what's the Scotch Charitable? They click on it and they find us. Next thing you know, they're going to the membership section and they're looking to get
Yeah.
an application.
Right. Yeah. What a story this is. A saga is really the whole thing between these battles and everything, and it's really not ending. You're still continuing the story of the Scots POWs, I call them, or indentured servants.
The
I have
legacy lives
I have
on.
a relative of my own, a forebear that was down at the Braintree site.
Oh yeah, Furnace Brook Parkway. Yep.
Yep, he was at the Battle of Dunbar. His surname is actually Dunbar as well. So
Interesting.
I'm very familiar with this whole thing. I don't know much about him. No one does,
Hmm.
uh, but I know enough about him to know that he existed, and he's part of my story. And this is
That's
a wonderful thing to be able to really continue. We don't want to continue anyone's indenturement. I don't mean that, but you're still continuing what they went through has had a benefit, and it's still going to continue to do that into the future, Scott.
the rising up of the Scottish culture. And on that note, the Scots played an incredible part of American history and still do. A lot of people don't realize this, but at the Battle of Lexington, which started the Revolutionary War, there's about a third of the men that were on the Lexington Green were of Scottish descent, and some of them were descendants of the Scottish POWs that were sent to the Saugus Ironworks. In fact, Monroe was one of the people in the Monroe Tavern in Lexington. Well, the guy that owned the Monroe Tavern, his grandfather was an indentured servant that was sent to the Saugus Ironworks.
Ah, is that right? Many of those
It-
guys were very young, I think, when they were in that battle as well.
yeah,
They were young enough so they could have a full life and family once they got out of that in that 7 years.
yeah,
Many of them did do that.
yeah. And if anyone's ever been to the Saugus Ironworks, they take you inside, and there's this huge blast furnace, and the ranger who does the tour paints a really good story that these guys wore heavy, heavy leather to protect themselves from, you know,
Slag.
working, slag flying around that's
Yeah.
just red hot. Now imagine a hazy, hot, and humid New England summertime and working in that blast furnace. I don't think there were very many overweight Scots working in there. They work from can't see in the morning to can't see at night.
Right.
And I mean, basically, they were slaves. That's really what they were. But there is a wonderful outcome to this story. When their indenturement was completed and when the ironworks was shut down, they took their skill to different parts of the country, to Maine, to Rhode Island and Connecticut, and as far down as Philadelphia to ply their trade that they had gained working at the ironworks.
Right. They're very in demand then.
Indeed.
right? You'd have to locate yourself in a place where these materials were available in the local area, but beyond that, your expertise really would really get buy your ticket, you might say.
Yep. I find it amazing how Scots, when they have been put into very difficult circumstances, have found a way to utilize that to their benefit and come out far better than they ever would have otherwise. It is truly amazing story. A lot of great inventors were Scottish and so forth, but it's that ingenuity of the Scots that is that is within them that
Sure.
makes our culture the way it is. If you want to get a good example of ingenuity, think about the Battle of Bannockburn. The Scots were outnumbered at least 2-1, but they had home field advantage, and they knew exactly how to lure the English in to where they needed to be, and got them caught up in the bogs, and the archers finished them off. I mean, that's just great strategy, great ingenuity on their part.
Right. I've been saying the term Yankee ingenuity all my life, and my grandparents before me, but what they mean by that is really Scots ingenuity, most likely. I mean, who are the Yankees? But
Yep.
not the New York Yankees now, but
No, no, no.
the other ones.
Yep.
Right. Who are they talking about? But the Scots primarily. Uh,
Yep. And another thing too is that my ancestry is not from this area. My ancestry goes back to just before the Revolutionary War. Think about the era post Culloden. My ancestors came into South Carolina,
okay.
and they're part of that Tartan wave that moved across the South, across the Middle Plain states to California. And that's why if you look at a US map, you will see an incredible amount of towns with Scottish names going from the Carolinas to California. My ancestry was a part of that. And they came over. My ancestor was listed. We found him in the Federal Archives microfilm. It just said Carolina Militia, but we didn't know whether it's north or south. Whatever reason, someone didn't care to indicate that. Then they migrated to Tennessee and became they actually fought on the side of the South, even though they're known as a Northern sympathizer. And then my next generation was on a wagon train that went to northern Texas and went into a place called Indian Territory, which is Oklahoma.
Oh,
And
sure.
that's where my father was born. And it's just interesting. Of course, he went to the Army and met my wife in Boston, and the rest is history, so to speak. But there's this incredible tartan migration across the United States, going from basically Virginia, North South Carolina, possibly Georgia, and just make that one big band going across the country, making their way. I even found a place called McKenzie, Tennessee.
Did you
Yeah,
leaving their mark literally?
literally, yep, they did. Definitely made their mark. One other thing I wanted to share about the society is that not only do we have just good people, but we actually have openings for new members, to come join us and be a part of this historic organization with a great legacy. Um, we have a finance committee that handles all of our money in the stock market portfolio. This is the money we use for scholarships.
Mhm.
We have it's also called the investment committee. We also have a historian who can always use some help. Uh, he's kind of a it's kind of a lone operation, but I think we'd like to see more people work in that. And they maintain all of the Scotch charitable documents that go back to colonial times at
Mhm.
the, what is it? It's in Boston. It's the New England um, Records Preservation. I forget the exact name of it, but it's a place in Boston where all these old documents are well taken care of.
Okay. Yeah.
We have the events committee. These are the ones that they're putting on the tartan ball. They're the ones that make it exciting and do all this work.
Right.
And we have the Marcom team. They're the ones that handle our website and all of our social media.
Sure.
We have our treasurer. We have several other organizations within the Scotch Charitable, and I always like to see when they join our society, what would you like to do? Where do you think you can contribute your efforts? Because everybody has some type of skill and talent.
Sure.
How can you apply it to the society for the betterment of the society?
Right. Yeah. You don't want to see anyone keep their light under a bushel and not let them know what the strengths are. That way you can utilize them.
I've always said teamwork makes the dream work, and everybody has a talent. It's just a matter of finding out what it is and pull
Right.
those energy into a one combined source.
Sure. Well, I'm going to be putting any links that you have to your organization below, so anyone can find them. We'll be adding them to the interview. Um, yeah. So I just had a conversation recently with someone from the Old Berwick Society in Maine
Ah, yeah.
about the SPOW plight and such, and he has a large map that he did. We did a talk about that, so that's on the TouchNot channel here. If folks want to look for that. After you've watched Scott and take a look at the Scott's Charitable Society, that's a supplemental thing. You want to watch that too. That's going to give you the background to everything we just talked about, which is kind of a good timing here. Is what happened.
It is. It is. There's I see that there's a resurgence in events that are Scottish. Um, I think COVID really made a hard hit into the Scottish culture, like every other part of the country and
Sure.
all cultures. And there at one time before the before COVID hit, there was like 35,000 people going to Loon Mountain. You
Yes.
know, now
Usually.
now I think they're at 15, 20,000. So it's making its way back. And we're seeing more events show up. You've got the Scottish Cultural Event at Fort Number 4 in Charlestown, New Hampshire, coming up
Yes.
in June. You've got the Maine Games, and I've been going to the Maine Games for 3 straight years, and each year it's getting a little bigger than the previous one,
Mm.
and it's starting to grow. There's the No Fame Games down in Holden, Mass. There's the Glasgow Lands Game out in Hampton, I believe.
In Milford, the home.
Milford, thank you.
Yep, it's okay. I was
And
there today, actually, at the field,
okay,
measuring
so
out some things.
so it's great to see this, and we're not that I'm going to say we're trying to be all things Scottish, but we're trying to be a focal point of things Scottish. So if you're looking for something, come see us. Perhaps we can help you out. We can direct you. And by all means, if anyone out there has kin that is going to be heading to college, we'd really like to have them come to our website and get an application. Now, it's kind of interesting. Uh, the this year's scholarship deadline is March 18th. So I don't
Okay.
think anybody's going to be able to wrap it up and get it done in time for this. But just mark your calendars. Starting January 1st to the middle of March, we start accepting applications. And there is a tab on our website for scholarships where students can apply. And by the way, we just recently learned that the number one urology doctor in Los Angeles was a scholarship recipient back in 1990.
Is that right?
Yes, it was quite exciting to read that story.
Right, right,
Yeah. So it makes me feel good to know that we were able to help people. And then in turn, they blossomed and turned into something greater, which I think is wonderful. Because it's important as a society that we make the next generation, prop them up, make them better than us. That's growth. That's going places to do this. And this is important. And this is what the society's about. We just do it through, hey, know your Scottish background and take pride in it. And in turn, we can help you go somewhere.
right. And since 1657, you've been doing this, Scott. Correct?
Exactly.
My
That's right.
goodness.
Was it 367 years? And it's a long time. And the thing about the society, what I find interesting is that it's almost like it's almost invisible. We're not flamboyantly displayed everywhere. You just have to look and find us. Like I said, I talked about the Pilgrims Monument. I talked about Mount Auburn Cemetery. We're there. I went to a restaurant in Woburn. I think it was it? I think it's Joe's. I think it's called. Not Your Average Joe's. I think that's the name of it. It's right there, right next to 128 in Woburn.
Yeah.
Well, I sat down in my seat, and it's eclectic inside. They have all types of memorabilia on the wall. and call it divine influence or whatever. I sat down and I looked next to me, and there's an old photograph in an old frame, and in the corner it said Scotch Charitable Society, 1912.
Did it?
And I'm like,
Huh.
there's a reason why I was meant to sit here.
Right.
And it showed these men in tuxedos. Um, my gosh, it must have been 70, 80 men. You know, it must be a meeting. I'll tell you that when I first joined the society, they all wore three-piece suits.
Yep.
I mean, I was scared to death when I went to my first meeting because I felt like, this is a kid from the other side of the tracks. I'm with these guys, they're talking about investments and stuff. And I'm like, maybe I've come to the wrong place, but they were
Okay.
very, very welcoming and so forth. And over the years, we kind of toned it down a bit. Now we're more, we're casual about our meetings. We're not as formal. I mean, back in the old days, we used to live by Robert's Rules of Order.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was just that tradition. But in time, as our culture changes, we've changed with the culture, and that's the thing I do like about the society, is that we bend and flow with the culture, but we maintain the deep Scottish roots that we have.
Sure. Well, I'm glad we had you on here because I think hopefully it helps some people. It helped me too to I wouldn't say humanize the organization, but like you say, just break through the film a little bit, find out just who you are, and that you're not a lot of people around the table who look this way when I walk in. You're someone who's welcoming, who wants to see people.
We do. We care. We really do care about our heritage. We care about other people. This is why we're so big fostering the scholarship program. That's where all our investment money goes, is to build the money up so that we can give out, on average about 90 to $100,000 a year in scholarships to deserving young men and women. There's some great stories that we hear from these kids. They know about their Scottish background, but they're struggling to make money to go to college, and we're so glad to help them. We really are. And the beauty is, I'm a sponsor myself of college students. And one of the things is I build a relationship with them. Not only do I stay in touch with them when they're in college, I stay in touch with them after college. I kind
Is
of
that
like
right?
be a mentor to them. I'm there to be there for them. I mean, why not? I mean, I had mentors when I got out of school, and it was wonderful to have people give me some guidance. They teach me things that I would never know, you know.
Right. As far as the you say relief work goes, do you mostly go out and try to seek out where you need it, or do people find you, or a little bit
They
of?
find us. They find us. You can come to our website. We have a section there for relief, and you can go online and you can connect to the person who heads up the relief committee. There's like 4 or 5 people that are in that committee,
Okay.
and they'll ask you some questions and take your story, and we then make a determination as to what kind of funds that you're going to get. There was a story of a woman whose husband had died out of state, and the funeral service was going to charge her an exorbitant amount of money to transport the body back in state.
Uh-huh.
And she came to us and said, "No, we'll take care of that." And, there are people who are, there was a family that came here from Scotland and things didn't work out and they had to move back, but they couldn't afford to ship all their belongings back.
Hmm.
Society paid for that.
Ah,
Stories like that where people get into a jam once in a while and you need that little extra nudge to help you out. And that's what we're here for.
right.
We're it, the society is all the purpose of the society has always been about Scots helping Scots, which is our motto.
Right from the start when they came out of their indenturement with maybe one shoe and no lunch, and that this is what they needed, and this is how it started, Scott. Correct?
That is exactly how it started. And we are continuing that tradition of Scots helping Scots. And like I said, we're a wonderful group of people. Um, I'd like to see my goal is to expand the organization, start reaching out to other parts of the country, but even locally, I want people to come on board and be a part of this great organization.
Great. So April 6th at Tartan Ball in Andover, Mass.
Yeah,
Correct?
Indian Ridge Country Club.
Okay, we'll be putting the information below here when we
Yep.
get this all polished up for everybody.
Yeah, it's also on our website.
Okay, great. Scott, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Touchdown channel. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to seeing you someday soon.
Alrighty then.
All
Bye
right, take
bye.
care. All right, bye-bye.
The Tartan Ball in Andover on April 6th is being presented in conjunction with New England Scottish Arts Center.